After finishing speaking, she raised her hand and slapped Elaine again, and said coldly, "From the day Jacob wanted to marry you, I have seen you not pleasing to eyes. You have disgusted me for so many years. I must make enough money." Elaine is completely broken. She did not expect that old Mrs. Wilson would be so shameless. If you say anything you have said before, you will change your opinion. However, she has nothing to do with her now. Even with this Jenna Jones here, she dare not even say a word of dissatisfaction. Thinking of this, Elaine was extremely sad, and only hoped that this was a nightmare and that she would wake up sooner. After a while, the two people who went out to pick up the meal came back with two large plastic baskets. Inside are all aluminum alloy lunchboxes of uniform specifications, tableware, as well as rice and dishes are packed inside. Everyone's is exactly the same. As soon as the two entered the door, someone cheered, "Eat, let's eat." With that said, she ran over and took a lunchbox, then opened it and ate it happily. Jenna Jones was also hungry, so she planned to let Elaine go temporarily and fill her stomach first. Old Mrs. Wilson and Wendy were also hungry and starving, and came over to get a lunchbox. As soon as Wendy opened it, she saw that there were two squares in the lunchbox in front of her. One square was for vegetables and the other was for rice. The point is that this dish, Wendy, looks familiar. Someone excitedly said, "Oh, eat duck rack and boil cabbage tonight." "It's okay." Wendy came back to her senses, and wondered why this dish was so familiar. It turned out to have just eaten at noon. When she thought of this, she felt a little nauseous. The stomach that was already too hungry seemed to be full at once. The Lady Wilson didn't care. She asked Wendy while eating, "Wendy, why don't you eat?" Wendy cried and said, "Grandma, what's the difference between this and what you did at noon?" Old Mrs. Wilson said, "It's better than what I cooked. You will know by tasting it." Wendy sighed and said, "Then I have enough of this flavor." Jenna Jones reminded her, "Little girl, this meal is pretty good. If you don't eat it now, you will have to wait until tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. If you are hungry at night, you can eat without supper." Wendy hurriedly asked, "Then can I stop eating and eat when I'm hungry?" Jenna Jones said, "It takes half an hour to eat, and after half an hour someone will come to collect the tableware. If you want to count, you can take it away if you don't eat it, unless you pour it in your wash basin and wait until you are hungry to eat with the basin at night." Wendy was spoiled for so many years. How could she stand this? She couldn't help but retching when she thought of eating in the basin, so she hurriedly bit her scalp and said, "Then I'll take 2 bites." Elaine, who was beaten and bruised, was already so hungry that her chest was pressed against her back. At noon, Charlie had just made the meal, but she hadn't eaten a bite, and then was arrested by the police. After tossing all afternoon to now, coupled with the shock and beating, the physical exhaustion is huge, so I am hungry. So she cautiously crawled over, took a lunchbox from the plastic basket, and was about to go to the corner to eat by herself. Jenna Jones suddenly shouted to her, "What are you doing?" Elaine hurriedly said, Big sister, I want to eat a meal." "Eating?" Jenna Jones shouted, "You bastard who is not filial to her mother-in-law, even have the face to eat?" I. Elaine suddenly choked up, but suddenly didn't know how to answer Jenna Jones's question. Jenna Jones reprimanded dissatisfied at this time, "What am I? Come here for me." Elaine could only stagger up to her, nodded and bowed, and said, "Sister, what do you want?" Jenna Jones snatched the lunchbox in Elaine's hand and said coldly, "You are not worthy of eating, go away." As soon as Elaine heard this, she cried and said, "Sister, I ate nothing in the morning today. I am almost hungry and dizzy by now. You have to pity me and let me have 2 bites." "Eat?" Jenna Jones said with a smile, "You are a person who lives in the first class of Thompson. Isn't the price of this kind of food reduced?" Elaine cried and said, "Sister, I am really hungry. Please be merciful and let me eat 2 bites. You can't just watch me starve to death." Jenna Jones said coldly, "Don't worry, you won't die if you don't eat for 2 or 3 days." Elaine begged, "But I'm really hungry." Jenna Jones asked disgustedly, "Are you endless? I'm telling you, you'd better leave aside, and say one more FC King word, believe it or not kill you now." Elaine looked at Jenna Jones's fierce appearance, and her heart trembled, and tears of grievance rolled down immediately. She was afraid that Jenna Jones would beat her again, so she could only hide in the corner by herself, watching Jenna Jones eat up her own meal with spoonful by spoonful. At this moment, Charlie was preparing dinner in Thompson's large kitchen. Claire and Elsa came back together. As soon as Elsa got home, Elsa hurried to the kitchen, saying, "Oh, I came to live in your house and caused you trouble. Let me help you with more housework." After speaking, she got into the kitchen and asked Charlie shyly, "Is there anyone I can help?" Charlie said, "Without your help, you can go out and watch TV with Claire." "But I don't want to watch TV." Elsa replied shyly, "I just want to help you, or I'm fine." Charlie didn't know what she was thinking about, and hurriedly said, "It's really not necessary. I'm used to cooking by myself. You can sit out and wait for dinner." While talking, Claire stepped into the kitchen and asked Charlie, "Charlie, have you seen Mother?"